This is a podcast by the Straits Times.
So why do you decide to start this side hustle?
It actually all started on a very random matcha craving I was having. So I was really craving for some matcha. Then I was thinking, why not I make it myself instead of always buying it. Then that was how my matcha obsession started. I started buying a lot of matcha powders and everything to try out different flavors, going around different cafes to try out their matchas as well. Then it's also a creative outlet for me. I wanted to create a brand that's approachable, fun, and a little quirky. That's why we have the Tofu mascot. And it's also something that I want to buy for myself.
Doing a full-time job on the weekdays but selling matcha on weekends? Being a software engineer while also acting in local theatre productions? The side hustle life is calling more young Singaporeans as they seek personal fulfilment outside their normal job. It might also be a way to make more money to meet the cost of living demand. But if I want the side hustle, how should I start? What sort of side hustles are possible to sustain? And what do I need to know before taking the plunge? Hi, I'm Juliet Tan, and you're listening to Headstart On Record. In the studio with me is matcha maker Trish Su, 34, owner of Tofu Tofu, and HR expert Juliet Tan to break it down. Welcome to the show! So hi Trish, can you tell us what your side hustle is about?
I run a registered home business, pick-up cafe in Bedok, and it's called Tofu Tofu. So I started during end of March this year, and it's been about 4 months in right now. And the support we've gotten so far has been amazing. And what started out as a passion project has grown into something that I look forward to every week, to meeting my customers and everything. Yeah. Tofu Tofu specializes in matcha lattes, from traditional matcha latte to usuchas. And then we also try to make different flavors. We have kaya matcha and Biscoff matcha as well.
Oh, okay. And you have a full-time job, right? So is this side hustle only on the weekends?
Yes, this side hustle is only on the weekends.
And what do you do in your usual full-time job?
In the day, I'm a full-time digital marketer.
Ah, okay. So why do you decide to start this side hustle?
It actually all started on a very random matcha craving I was having. So I was really craving for some matcha. Then I was thinking, why not I make it myself instead of always buying it. Then that was how my matcha obsession started. I started buying a lot of matcha powders and everything to try out different flavors, going around different cafes to try out their matchas as well. Then it's also a creative outlet for me. I wanted to create a brand that's approachable, fun, and a little quirky. That's why we have the Tofu mascot. And it's also something that I want to buy for myself.
Ah,
yeah,
okay.
correct.
So it's kind of the need and the demand is more a personal thing, and then it's something that you realize other people
correct.
also want, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and how has the business been going? How many cups of matcha do you sell? How much do you make over a weekend?
Usually over a weekend, there is about 70 cups of matcha.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite good business.
I hope it will grow even more. Then next time we can move to a shop.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, because right now you're running out of your home, right?
Yes, correct.
Is it a HDB or?
Yes, it's a HDB at Bedok.
Okay. And so how do people know about the business and how do they come to buy the matcha?
I do promote on Instagram and TikTok, so I will create reels and contents for people to see, and I will do a little bit of paid ads as well. So they will usually scroll and then they will see my videos, and then if it piques their interest, they will go into my profile and then they will see all the details on my profile.
How does the collection process work? Do you have to personally hand each person their matcha?
Yes, that's right. I will hang this on the spot and then pass it to them through my window.
Wow, and I mean, Juliet, now that you've heard this, do you also see more young people doing side hustles these days? Is there a reason specifically for this trend now?
I think definitely more people doing it, and the lines are very much blurred because everything can be considered a side gig, right? You go from food delivery to ride-hailing. These are all technically side gigs. If you're in marketing, if you take on a friend's business, your parents' business, these are considered side gigs. If you buy things from China and you sell locally, that's a side gig. So anything basically that generates you another side income, even if you were doing, let's say, bartending on the weekend at the local F&B, that would be considered your side gig, right? So whether CPF, not CPF, we would just classify that as side gigs. So definitely on the uptrend.
And are there reasons for this trend? Is it because the cost of living is higher and young people, maybe they need some income on the side, or is it just a personal fulfillment sort of thing?
So case to case, we've seen people who are not full-time employed, so then they take on many side gigs or many part-time roles in the past. That's what we call it, right? Then, but we also see people with full-time jobs that take on side gigs for income because they need to support their income. So that is actually more out of need than out of passion. Right, I think for Tris, it's really out of passion and something that very complementary to her core job scope. And then she can do marketing, create a new brand, and it's all very fun and fulfilling. But I think for many people, especially if they do ride-hailing or food delivery, or I've also had dishwashing roles and I have had accountants come to say they want to do it like over the weekend. That is definitely not our passion, right? That's income. They need the weekend income to support them.
Okay, so Tris, like how do you balance your full-time job and your side hustle?
One of the biggest challenge is definitely time management. So there's like just never enough of time for me. Cause I have a full-time job on the weekday, so everything Tofu Tofu related will have to happen after work or during the weekends. Yeah, that includes like prepping ingredients, brainstorming new flavors, shooting content. It's a lot to juggle, especially as a one-woman show. But I'm really thankful to have like my friends and family who supports me. Yeah.
Okay, so how does it work? So is it like after your full-time job, you go home from the office and then you start to like brainstorm, or you check out your social media page, you reply to people's DMs maybe, and then on the weekends, then you do the matcha whisking?
Yeah, so usually after work, I will scroll a lot of TikToks for more content ideas and new flavor ideas, and also reply to DMs and inquiries, like people looking to buy matcha over the weekend. They'll be like, hey, when you open? That kind of thing.
But then does it feel that you're working all the time? Because then your weekends are also technically
I actually
like work.
do enjoy like talking to my customers and serving them. I love to serve people. So whenever they're happy, it makes me happy as well. Yeah, so I don't think it's a chore or tiring. Yeah.
Wow, okay. So it's more like passion project, right?
Yes.
Okay, and how do like your skills in your full-time job also help you with your side hustle? And then how does that, like sort of create a feedback loop, right? Because in your side gig, you're also like doing all this digital marketing stuff that I guess the skills are transferable to your actual job as well.
Yeah, so in my day job, I need to shoot content for my company. So like when I'm scrolling TikTok, I will get inspiration and ideas for like both sides. So sometimes when I'm shooting this content and I edit the video for my work, and I'll get inspiration for my side hustle. And like, hey, I can do this also for my side hustle. Yeah.
Wow, so it's really like best of both worlds. Like you create like a complementary cycle with your side gig. Yeah, that sounds really ideal. Juliet, do you think that like this sort of scenario works for most side hustles? And also, what are the things that people have to be aware of?
I think the first thing you do when you think of a business idea, get your business registered, make sure you are legal on the ACRA and IRA side. But if you're gainfully employed, one of the things you need to first check is your employee handbook and check whether you have a clause against moonlighting. So if you have a clause against moonlighting and you still want to do it, you're going to inform your manager, then they got to inform human resource, and human resource have to like kind of say that you got to go ahead or you don't have to go ahead. And they will assess it based on a case-by-case basis, what your engagement in a full-time role is, and what your side gig is. So for the bigger firms, you have all these kind of policies. The smaller firms, maybe you don't know that your boss may mind, but it's always better for you to go and give a heads up to your boss. So definitely for me, policy first, and then make sure if you're starting a business, you're making side income on the side, that you deal with, in the event that you become a very, very successful entrepreneur, that you make sure that your bases are covered for taxes. Right? So those are things to watch out for.
Yeah, because Tris mentioned that her business is registered, right? Yeah. So how does that work? So for example, tomorrow I want to set up a matcha business as well. How do I go and register the business?
ACRA. So you go online, go ACRA, you register business, and then you can be a sole prop, like Tris says. Or you think that your side gig is something a little bit more long-term, or that you think that it's a little bit more the kind of trade that you want to be more formal, then you may go for a private limited, and then you register a business, you have to deal with your annual taxes and filings.
So what's the main difference between a sole prop and like a private limited?
Okay, not a HR question, but from a business perspective, I think a sole prop you file personal tax, your private limited you file corporate tax. The tax rates are different. So if you're sole prop and you run a very high profit, both you have to go and do your P&L, but if you run a very high profit, then you may want to move to a private limited because the taxes are a little bit more preferential on the corporate side than your personal side. If your personal income runs very high, the percentage is much higher than corporate.
Okay, and how does the taxation work? Like, for example, if, every weekend I make a couple of hundred, so how much tax will I be expected to pay, for example?
Oh, it depends on your personal tax income bracket, right? So if for a sole prop, if I believe personal income tax, less than 20,000 income a year, you're not taxed at all. Then 2040, 40 to 60, and then onwards. So if Tris is already making like 200K per annum now on her basic pay, then any additional will be taxed at the higher tax bracket lah. But if her personal income is on the lower side, then her additional income will just be taxed at the new tax bracket. And then depending on whether she has any tax rebates like kids and all her other life insurance and deductibles, then she will get just as though it's a personal income tax lah.
Okay. Because I think some people, when they start side hustle, they say, oh, this is just a really small business, right? It doesn't really matter. I mean, what would you say to people like that?
It doesn't really matter lah, until you maybe get into trouble with IRAS. It doesn't really matter. I mean, for most part, a lot of people think that they won't get caught, and the truth is they don't get caught. And for now, I think the way trade happens, it doesn't. But in future, when trade has things like PEPL invoices, e-invoicing, I think this kind of thing can be very transparent to government about where money is going from company to individuals to company. So then that may be a time where you may need to file taxes lah.
Okay. And are there other regulations, like, for example, running the business out of a home, right? And we have seen the rise of like home-based cafes even. So for Trish, she's not even allowing people into the house, right? They just do the collection.
Correct.
Okay.
Pick up and go.
Yeah. But there are people who actually have people there drinking their matcha latte. So what are the sort of regulations around that?
I think HDB would have their own regulations. From what I understand, the small businesses, if you register a business, you need to first have a registered business address, which you can register at home, right? After you register a small business, if you're trying to run your business out of your home, you need a small business for home license, which you can get at the licenses.gov, right? So those are what you need. I think for the landed properties, which I understand there's also another very popular cafe on the landed property, right? Then they may have different rules, but even then, I believe they've been visited by the authorities. So just abide when they come and run your business accordingly.
There are also rules around advertising, right? Like outside your home.
I'm not familiar. I'm human resource. But yes, I believe on the HDB side, you definitely cannot put up signages. Yeah. But in any case, I think for a HDB cafe, signages would not give you the kind of eyeballs that you want that online can do today, right? Which Tris obviously has a grasp on to drive 70 matchas a weekend in such a short time. Right.
Yeah, Tris, maybe you could tell us a bit more about your whole like digital marketing strategy for Tofu Tofu, because it's so interesting, right? Like how you manage to draw people without any advertising physically, but then so many people know about it and travel all the way down to your home to get their matcha. So is it like on TikTok, IG, like how does that work?
Yeah, it's on social media. So social media is a power tool right now, especially TikTok. TikTok can get a lot of eyeballs and the news spread very fast because everybody will share the videos. Yeah, so when it shares, it starts spreading and then news will start spreading and everybody will be like, hey, there's a new home-based cafe. I want to go check it out over the weekends when I'm free. Yeah.
So how did it start? Like, I guess like your first weekend, you didn't have like 70 cups, for that weekend, right? But how did it begin? Was it just like you just sold to your neighbors or your family and friends and then it just snowballed?
I actually listed on a home-based cafe website. It's called a kappa. So they actually came down on the second day of my opening to shoot a video. And after that, they uploaded the video and it went viral. Yeah, so there was like over 200 plus K views on the video and 7K likes and comments. So yeah, I think they really helped us out a lot. So from that video, everybody started coming in. They'd be like, oh, I saw that video on TikTok. So I came down and tried it out. Yeah, and then even my friends who I didn't tell them about it, they started forwarding me the video also. So
wow, okay. So it seems like side hustles are really a booming business, right? Like it's really possible to kind of make a profit and even get the word out there.
That's right.
Yeah, okay. Do you see your peers also getting into side hustles or is it just you?
Yes, definitely. I've been seeing more of my peers also getting into side hustle. Like one of my close friends is going to start a waffle business, like home-based as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he bought his own waffle machine to R&D now. So haven't started. I will advise him also to do the proper procedure. Yeah, I think most of them are also starting out of passion. Like they like to do something, that's why they want to start something. And also, of course, the extra side income definitely helps in paying a bit of the bills and a bit of your expenses as well.
So it's a mix of both, right? Like the fact that it's a high cost of living environment and also the fact that people are searching for personal fulfillment maybe outside their day jobs.
Yeah.
I think jobs today are like a means to an end sometimes. Like, it pays the bills, but, it's after all maybe not your own. So then if you can find fulfillment elsewhere, I think from a human resource perspective, we've always been very encouraging for employees to take volunteer work, for example, because we know that it can be very fulfilling for them. And then it can keep them on point or on track for their main jobs and career. They stay in that job because they can find fulfillment elsewhere that augment their entire life. The job doesn't have to be the only thing in their life. And that often is not enough. Like, it can be very single track. And at some point, they have this thing called the midlife crisis. So she's starting a bit young. But can't be midlife crisis so early, but it's good that, they start very early knowing that, hey, maybe we can have more than one track and success may mean many different things and I can be very happy. And it's very unique in a sense that she works 7 days a week, 5 days on her full-time job. At the evening, she's still working. And then Sundays, she's probably working 16 hours and she's like, oh, I feel perfectly happy and fine after 4 months. I'm not tired at all. Whereas you also have employees that say they're working 5 days a week and then they're like, I don't want to work a single hour more. And I don't do OT. And then on the weekends, they are on a leisure. But on Monday, they say, FOMO, I don't want to go back to work on a Monday, right? But she is definitely, I was saying, she's such a great example of an employee that should be encouraged to moonlight.
Yeah, because actually it keeps the creative juices flowing, right? Through the whole week. Yeah, even the weekends.
Correct. I do take breaks on certain weekends as well to go have a massage or like to just wind down.
Then who delivers the matcha then?
Then we'll be closed for the weekend.
Okay.
Yeah. So then you have to put out a notice that cafe is closed on this weekend. Cannot take orders.
Yeah.
So in that case, it's quite flexible, right? Depending on your needs. Okay, yeah. So it's sort of like you're running a startup, but without the pressure of like a full-time like business.
Yeah, I suppose. And I think that there are many forms of moonlighting. And her form has retail components to it. But a lot of moonlighting, like for example, a writer writes. They can write anywhere. If you're doing social media campaigns for people, moonlighting, you can do it from anywhere. And then that has the gig worker and the digital nomad side, right? So those are more possible formats. And in fact, those are even more common, I would think, than the home-based business, retail front kind. I think this one has some investment on equipment, right? It's not service-based. It actually has a product, right? Service-based ones are a lot easier because you're just a computer and then, deliver that.
Do you also think that employers need to be more open these days to employees having like side hustles and side gigs? Because there are those companies that flat out ban it, right? Or they do not allow it because they think that it takes away like employees' time from their work.
I think that employers today already are more open. Perhaps they have always been open, but it's just that the policy will always indicate that it's not allowed until it is explicitly allowed. Right, and the premise is that they want sufficient rest, right? Especially in certain trades. Actually, there are trades that are actually still doing 55 hours per week. Like, for example, F&B trades. In a full-time arrangement, I mean, you do it over the weekend, but in a full-time arrangement, they're all doing 55 hours, 60 hours a week if you look at the job advertisements. Right, so then that's not very possible for them to then take on an additional cycle. They will absolutely not have enough rest, right? And we would hope that they rest, right? If we can look at the PMAT workers, which is what Tris is, a professional, right? Then she actually has a lot more weekend time to pursue whatever she wants. And if everybody is such a model moonlight worker, I think a lot of bosses would be very happy to, keep them because it helps her supplement her income. She will not look for a new job right now to get that $300, $500 increase. And she'll be very happy because she's also passionate about building something on her own, right? And that helps the employer also build somebody with entrepreneurial spirit. And hopefully that can then infect how they conduct the digital marketing for them in their own business, depending on what your digital marketing, your core business is. Your real profession, your full-time job scope, the digital marketing is for what kind of products?
Electronics.
Okay, yeah. So you see, she may learn something that, for marketing matcha, that she can bring to marketing electronics just on trend. Just because she spends so much more time on digital marketing platforms, she could be very much more on point for trends.
Yeah, it's true, right? Because like you say, you scroll TikTok to look for all the trends so that you know how to market your matcha. So, I mean, the TikTok trends aren't different, right? When it comes to electronics or other products as well.
A trend is a trend. So, it can fit any type of category.
Wow, okay, yeah. So this is such an ideal, like win-win kind of situation. Tris, do you think that this side hustle will continue for you? Like, do you have plans to grow the business or like even to become a full-fledged entrepreneur?
It will definitely continue for me, maybe in different forms over time, like opening like a small cozy cafe where people can really come and sit down and enjoy the matchas. Then I also like to connect with like customers and other small businesses. So sometimes I will do like collaborations, do like a bundle set or like drop seasonal favors like with other big stuff. So it will be like a food item and then a matcha latte. Yeah.
Wow, okay. Well, this is really like entrepreneurial actually. Like, the businesswoman.
Besides saying this is a side gig, there are many different kinds of side gig that would not lead on to a full-on business, but this is the kind of side gig that could possibly lead on to a full-on business in various forms. Could be a collaboration, it could be, working with someone or just selling the brand or all of that. And it's the kind that is unique in that you're technically a small business owner, not a side gig. not a PMET with a side gig. You're on the way to a full-on business if you had the kind of investment, right?
For sure.
And I guess when we talk about your business, sometimes people think if it's like matcha, they just buy a lot of like matcha powder and then they just make and then see what happens, right? But for you, you already had like a digital marketing plan. You already knew that you had a market out there. I guess like what sort of profit margin do you make or like what are the overheads like?
Profit margins?
Yeah, because like if you buy all the, like you get the money from the people buying your matcha, but then you also have to pay for your matcha powder, your whisk. Do you hand whisk everything?
Yes, I do hand whisk everything.
Wow.
Yeah. The margins so far are like about 200-300. Yeah, correct. Because the matcha powder is very expensive now. There's a matcha shortage going on. Yeah. So it's getting a bit harder to get quality matcha for a lower price. Yeah. So I do have to source for different matchas when my main supplier is out of stock. So, which is currently happening right now. Yeah, so I have to look for alternatives, and these alternatives usually are not cheap.
Business decisions.
Yeah, it's truly running a small enterprise.
Welcome to the business world. Procurement and sourcing.
Yeah, I'm getting a taste of it now.
You see, new skill sets are being built
true.
right here.
Yeah.
Right? So she has a new career possibility in future if she decides not to do her matcha business, right? She can go into the F&B sector. She can work in general management. She can, with the displayed passion, she can put it in her portfolio. You can definitely put this as part of your resume if that's not clear.
Okay. Wow, this is really amazing. Yeah, actually it's true, right? Even running a little side gig on your own, you learn so many things that you don't learn at your full-time job. It kind of like augments the skill sets that you have.
From HR perspective, when we look at fresh graduates or young graduates, we look at what you did in your free time. What sport you played? Were you a captain? Were you running a team? Did you display any initiative? Anywhere we can find initiative, we'll be very happy. But like initiative, right? So for what you have right now, if you do it early on in your career, you can really look at how it can pivot your career to new areas. Like you can move away from electronics, technically, if you're so passionate about F&B. Honestly, starting a cafe and F&B in Singapore today, it's very risky, very, very risky if you look at the news recently, especially. So personally, I wouldn't recommend it. You need very deep pockets. But, it's very possible. There are still some people who try it. But the risks are very high. So it could really be more feasible from a career perspective that you find somebody that has a brand that you resonate with and they're more than happy to take you on because you're so passionate about what you do and you have displayed that kind of passion. And if they can align on compensation, maybe profit sharing, it could be more feasible to use someone else's money to build a business than throw in hundreds of thousands of your own. Yes.
Wow, so many avenues for self-development and like growing your business, growing in other ways. That's amazing. Okay, so Tris, let's say I want to start a side hustle tomorrow, not to compete with your matcha business, but if I wanted to start something of my own, like what are the steps I have to go through? Like what's the very first thing I need to do first?
The first thing I feel would be wanting to do something that excites you, that you are really, passionate about, or like it can be something that you are already doing during your free time, like a hobby, or it has to be something that you like to do, or not you won't like persevere long enough to carry on the side hustle.
And then, like, for example, if I want to also make matcha, I guess a big thing would be asking my parents, right, if I'm going to operate out of their HDB flat. So how did it go for you? Like, how was that conversation?
I actually asked and then they just said, okay. it was that straightforward. They're quite supportive. So
Super.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because in the past, I have done many other kind of side hustles. So they know like I like to do this kind of thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
They've been inculcated over time. It's just groomed them.
That's amazing. I think my mom would say no.
Yeah, but then there's some concern, right? Because then a lot of people will be coming to their doorstep.
Because we operate by pickup timing. So each pickup timing will be fixed, like amount of people. Yeah, so I can make sure that there is no crowd crowding outside my HDB when they collect the matcha.
But what if that like your business becomes 200 cups a day? Then like every 3 minutes there's somebody at the door.
I will still limit the pickup timings on the app. Yeah, just in case like, because I don't want to get complained by my neighbors or like, HDB coming up to find me.
Very supportive parents.
Yeah. And also, I think because you already have a firm idea, right, of which apps to use, how to market it, and what sort of product concept. Because the idea of like Tofu Tofu, was that from the very beginning, or do you make matcha first and then come up with the concept?
The name itself was actually meant to be like a brainless thing because like my name starts with a T and I wanted a brand name that starts with a T. So I was thinking, okay, what's a very brainless, easy to remember name? Then I like to eat tofu. So okay, Tofu Tofu.
Tea, you can make bubble tea. Maybe got more business.
Bubble tea, yeah.
Yeah, next avenue.
New product line.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess if I were to start a business, like marketing is something I should think about really early on, right? Not like when I've already started selling and then I suddenly start to think of how do I market it.
Correct. So I think another important factor is also branding. Because I've seen like a lot of other smaller HBBs, they do have like very nice matcha, but they don't do like the correct branding to put themselves out there. Or like the logo could be like something very simple, then people don't really remember you. Yeah, so like to create something memorable, very strong branding, then people will come to you.
Okay. And what are the sort of licenses then that I should apply for?
I think the most basic one will be the food hygiene cert first. Then you start experimenting and then you really want to go into it already, then you register your business on Accra.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess it's just good to know, right, that like whisking matcha out of your HDB actually involves so many other steps besides the actual whisking and the actual selling of the matcha.
I think for me, I've been running my business for 15 years. I have to say that if you're very good at what you're doing, for example, making matcha, if you do start full on a business, you will realize that you spend most of your time not making matcha. You will spend a lot of time in administration, like paying salaries, paying bills, running the shop, keeping it clean, right? So if you enjoy doing something, sometimes starting a business, you actually spend a lot less time doing it when it's of a certain scale. When it's small scale, it really keeps you quite happy. And you can see a lot of small F&B owners in the news recently. And it's all a passion project. I love the food. I love to eat. We're Singaporeans. We all love to eat. So then you start thinking that, hey, I can sell it. I can share the joy. Then you realize that the pressures of running an F&B is very, very real. So I think for side hustles where F&B comes, I think home base is still very palatable, pun intended. But when it does get so much bigger, the pressure will probably make you lose your appetite.
Wow, okay, yeah. I think that's all very helpful and good to know as well, right? Like what sort of side gigs are possible and then how to grow the side gig into a bigger business and what to be aware of. So that's a wrap for this episode of Headstart On Record. Thank you, Juliet.
Thank you.
And Tris.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure talking to you. I'm Juliet Tan. You can email us your thoughts on this issue or suggest another question you'd like to see me tackle next time on the show. You can also reach out to me on LinkedIn. And if you'd like to read my articles and the Headstart newsletter, all these links are in our podcast show notes. This podcast episode is edited by Amirul Karim. Stay tuned then. Thanks for listening.
Send your feedback to podcast@sph.com.sg. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or within our Straits Times app. Thanks for listening. Do note, all analyses, opinions, recommendations, and other information in this podcast are for general information purposes only and are not intended to be relied upon as financial advice. You should not rely on them in making any decision. Please consult a fully qualified financial advisor or professional expert for independent advice and verification. To the fullest extent permitted by law, SPH Media shall not be liable for any loss arising from the use of or reliance on any analyses, opinions, recommendations, and other information in this podcast. SPH Media accepts no responsibility or liability whatsoever that may result or arise from the products, services, or information of any third parties. All opinions expressed by participants in this podcast are solely their own and do not reflect the opinions of SPH Media.